You ever watch something back that you wrote and maybe think, wow, that sucks? What was I thinking? Well, I'm here to tell you, congratulations. You're on the path to becoming a better screenwriter. We've all been there. I'm still kind of there. Failure is a part of the process. We have to make mistakes in order to get better. But here's where the men are separated from the boys. It's those who learn from those mistakes and become conscious of not repeating them that are able to grow and get better at their craft. So let's talk about the craft of screenwriting and how we can all get better at it. Many of us dive into screenwriting with minimal experience or research, and we expect great results. It's human nature. But that's a fool's errand. A weight trainer wouldn't expect to bench 350 their first day at the gym. A wise lifter wouldn't even attempt to pick up weight like that. They'd pick up the lighter weights first, and then they'd work their way up. The same goes for your writing. Cut your teeth on simple, short scripts that have minimal characters and plot devices. We can fast track our progress from there even further by educating ourselves about common beginner mistakes and then avoiding them altogether. If I had seen a video like this when I first started, this would have saved me months, if not years, so I hope this helps you out. There's no replacement for the experience that a seasoned writer has, but by becoming aware of the typical mistakes amateurs make, we can skip a couple rungs on the ladder. So let's talk about 3 beginner writing mistakes that are killing your screenplays.
They're eating her! And then they're going to eat me! Oh my God!
Number 1, on-the-nose dialogue. Ironically enough, writing good dialogue can be one of the most challenging aspects of screenwriting. I find it ironic because we experience dozens of social interactions in real life every single day, yet we struggle to reproduce believable dialogue on paper. Well, there's actually a few reasons for this. The first being, the majority of our conversations in real life just aren't that interesting. They wouldn't make good film. Think about all the useless small talk we make at home or at work. Sometimes our conversations just don't go anywhere. We talk in circles, we get distracted, we lose sight of our point mid-sentence. These are things most screenwriters try to avoid because they waste precious screen time. But sometimes, as writers, we take that too far, and this is where on-the-nose writing rears its ugly head. Or should I say nose?
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, you can say that again.
I'm so happy I have you as my best friend, and I love Lisa so much.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you are very lucky.
On-the-nose dialogue is essentially dialogue that lacks subtext. Subtext is the underlying meaning of our words. As humans, we don't always say exactly what we mean. In fact, we seldom do. We beat around the bush, we use body language, we use tone. All these things help us convey what we mean and allow us to communicate the subtext of our words. We expect our listeners to read between the lines. When your characters constantly say exactly what they think and there's never any subtext to their dialogue, they feel like robots.
I love her.
Mm-hmm.
When I graduate from college, get a good job, I want to marry her and have kids with her.
That's the idea.
Director Yorgos Lanthimos purposefully uses robotic dialogue that lacks subtext to highlight some of the themes of his stories.
Your son told me that you've got lots of hair under your arms, 3 times more than I do, and that you've got a very hairy back and a very hairy belly.
I probably do have a little more hair than you do because I'm older than you. But soon you'll have more hair too. It's all down to hormones.
It's really, really uncomfortable and almost hilarious at times, but it works for his stories because it's crafted that way to serve a purpose. It's intentional. On-the-nose writing forgoes all the subtlety of human communication. Characters say exactly what they think for the purpose of advancing the plot and the writer's agenda. It's lazy and it's amateur. Work to eliminate it by injecting subtext into your character's speech.
Jack Crawford sent a trainee to me.
Yes, I'm a student. I'm here to learn from you. Maybe you can decide for yourself whether or not I'm qualified enough to do that.
How else can they communicate what they're thinking and feeling? Maybe you can show us rather than telling us. Think about your characters' relationships. Can they hint at things rather than blurting things out blatantly? Combine body language with subtle vocal hints, and your characters will be much more believable and relatable to the audience.
Unbelievable. Oh, what would Mom and Dad say?
I don't know. They're gone. They died when I was 3, remember?
Number 2, as you know dialogue. Sometimes a beginner writer is more focused on advancing their plot and revealing details to the audience than they are on just telling a good story. Because of this, they tend to rely on overly expository dialogue to communicate with the audience. Exposition is when a writer tells or shows us things about their world or character's past that we personally didn't get to witness on screen. The lazy writer injects this exposition into their story with as-you-know dialogue. It's usually done in the form of one character speaking to another character for the sole purpose of alerting the audience to a particular piece of information that both characters should already know.
As your brother, I feel it's my duty to warn you. You worry too much.
The most egregious examples start the sentence with, you might have guessed, as you know. So how do we avoid this? Well, it's actually really tricky to eliminate it completely. I mean, there's a reason this exists in the first place. We have to get our audience up to speed on the history of our characters in the world. With narrative fiction film, we don't have that much time to do that. So we have to think carefully about the pacing of our exposition and mask it with good subtext-rich dialogue.
They both must have headed down the hill.
Sure. Hey, I ain't had time to ask. What really went down back there on that boat?
We missed you. That's what happened. Come on.
This is also where the golden film rule of show, don't tell comes in handy. Can your characters show us their history through their actions and reactions rather than just outright telling us through their dialogue? Can you use visual clues to provide exposition for your setting? Try your best to combine visual storytelling with subtext-rich speech, and you'll be able to significantly reduce instances of as-you-know dialogue.
I'll show you how it works. So they say you want to go from here to there, but it's too far, right? Mm-hmm. So a wormhole bends space like this, so you can take a shortcut through a higher dimension. Okay, so to show that, they've turned three-dimensional space into 2 dimensions, which turns a wormhole into 2 dimensions, a circle.
Number 3, exposition dumps. Once again, we're going to talk about a writer focused on advancing their plot rather than crafting a well-paced, interesting story. An exposition dump is when a writer communicates a huge block of information to the viewer all at once. This can be through dialogue or narration if there's a narrator. Not only is this lazy, but it typically kills the pacing of your story.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
The crafty writer drip feeds us information about their world and characters through interesting dialogue, subtext, and action.
I'd still like to further understand exactly
If I see one person on the ground or one helicopter overhead, you'll be living on basic assistance by the end of the month.
Yes, ma'am.
Rather than building expository clues subtly into their story, the lazy writer relies on huge information dumps that come all at once. If you want to avoid this, you have to know where you're going with your story from the get-go. Take the time to carefully plan out your characters and your settings before you even sit down to write. Then you'll have the foresight to know where to plant those clues for your audience. So there you have it. 3 beginner writing mistakes to watch out for and work to eliminate. I challenge you to go through your writing and see how prevalent these mistakes are. It'll help you become aware of where your weaknesses lie. I personally tend to struggle with exposition dumps because I tend to dive in and craft my plots as I'm writing. I just can't resist it. For me, the solution is planning ahead of time with a treatment and a character breakdown so that I always know where I'm headed story-wise. Let me know below in the comments what you personally struggle with, and I'm sure we can find a solution together. As you know, hitting that like button and subscribing helps get my channel some visibility, so I'll avoid an exposition dump on how YouTube's algorithm works, and I'll let you take care of business. Thanks for watching, and until next time, conceptualize, create, and conquer.